Welcome to the Private Practice with Soul podcast. My name is Dr. Brooklyn Storm, and I help private practice owners align their business back with their soul's calling, with their big vision and with their soul's purpose. Unlike other private practice coaches, I've traveled the world in search of spiritual resources, spiritual tools, education and information so that you can have the transformation that your soul desires and needs so that you can up-level your business. How much fun is this? I love it so much. Guys, if you're not already a member of the Private Practice Monthly Mentorship Group, please check out the show notes. I would love for you to be there. In the meantime, thank you so much for pushing play today. Let's begin. Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday and welcome to another episode of the Private Practice with Soul podcast. I am so thankful for you. Thank you so much for pushing play and for joining me today. And it's unusual because I don't do this very often. However, I set the intention this morning and I asked the universe what you guys needed to hear today. And what came through was, hearing about an actual story of a client that I work with. And that makes a whole lot of sense, actually, because I don't actually talk about my clients that much, do I? I talk about myself and I use myself as the frame of reference. I use myself as the model and the lesson. But I get it. Sometimes you need to hear about other people. And so, that's what I'm going to do today. So I want to talk with you about a client that I recently finished working with, and I've got her permission to share this story. Her name is Emma. Now, Emma is sort of dominating LinkedIn at the moment when it comes to human design. So she's in private practice. She's a wellness coach, and her area is human design. So I don't actually know much about human design myself, but she knows so much about it. She's built this huge coaching business with it, and she's just doing so well. The reason that she signed up for coaching with me was because she wanted to work more on her ability to, what I call create your own reality, which we're all doing all the time. You might call it manifesting. We're always manifesting, right? Whether you're aware of it or not, you're always creating something, whether that's your experience of the day, whether that's something else, but you're always creating something. The difference is you can either do it with awareness and consciousness or not. You can just be on autopilot. It's like when you're driving to work, you arrive at work and you're like, oh my gosh, how did I even get here? That's like when we're not consciously manifesting. When we are consciously manifesting, it's like, oh yeah, I passed a puppy being walked by its owner, and I saw two people at the traffic lights that were waiting to cross, and I saw a bus, and you can remember all of those things. So anyway, she wanted to work on manifesting. She specifically wanted to work on a story. She wanted to have her own story. Now, she had a problem when it came to manifesting because she was putting up blocks in her own way. She's getting too caught up in her own head. And I don't know if that's ever happened to you. You feel like perhaps you're just overthinking it, but you can't let it go. You're like a dog with a bone, and you just kind of, you're consumed by it, almost obsessed by it. And you just keep thinking about it. So that's what was going on for her. And because she was all caught up in her head, she was missing out on some of the key components of being like a master manifester. I guess what she really wanted as a result of us working together was she wanted to learn how I manifest things in my business. So she wanted to know how I manifest things like money, clients, referrals, visibility, all of that sort of stuff. So if you go back to earlier podcasts, you'll know this podcast began under a different name. It was actually called Manifest Change because I was all about manifesting and using it for private practice. But it wasn't cool to talk about it with private practice then, and I was still finding my feet with it. So I called it Manifest Change. But I had heaps of examples in there of people that I was working with that were manifesting all those sorts of things. And Emma wanted to have her own experience of manifesting. She tried reading the books, and she tried watching other people's webinars, and she tried coaching before, but it just hadn't landed for her for some reason. And then this was then feeding into her, cognitive loop around how she's not very good at manifesting, but she really, really wanted to be. So she came to me because she saw that I had an international best-selling book last year. I written and published 2 books last year. I've been on TV talking about manifesting, all this sort of stuff as it relates to running a business. And so that's why she came to me for help. And I was super excited to take on the challenge. And here's the thing, we had to spend a little bit of time undoing some of the things that she'd already learned from other coaches. It was information that just wasn't working for her. Not that other coaches had given her wrong strategies or wrong tools, but I think it had just not sat well with Emma. And so what we needed to do was try and work with her to shift her blocks. And she was very engaged and she was very, very motivated. She was showing up, she was doing all of the work. But there was this period in our time together over the 90 days where it was almost like, she was so frustrated with me. She was so frustrated with the process. I remember it was like 2 sessions back to back where she was just, simmering, I could see, because she was feeling very, very frustrated. This was about halfway through our time together. She just sort of hit a wall, and it was this feeling of being blocked. It was this feeling of being frustrated that was only amplifying the block, right? And it was preventing more of the conscious manifesting in her practice from being able to take place, from being able to, transpire for her. And this frustration was turned inward. She was mad at herself. She was questioning herself. Why can everybody else do it and I can't? And, one day she said to me, so if you've been listening to me for a while, I'm sorry, you're going to hear this story, but I'll just do the 25 words or less version for the newbies. So when I first started manifesting, one of the things that I did was I was so excited about it that I talked to my mum about manifesting. So my mum and I are super close. On this particular day, we were down in San Remo, out of Victoria in Melbourne. It's a fishing village. We were down there, and then my mum said, well, I want to manifest too, because I'd been telling her about what I'd been manifesting. So anyway, she said, show me how to do it. So I showed her how to do it. We're just in the car. And then she said, listen, I'm going to manifest a piece of choc orange fudge. And anyway, long story short, we managed to go to a coffee shop on the way home, and this coffee shop really only roasts beans and sells coffee. But on this particular day when we went in there, they'd had a bit of a change, and they had a display cabinet that had fudge in it, and I was so excited. And I asked the lady when I was ordering my coffee, hey, do you have choc orange fudge? And she said, no, I don't. And then I was it was a roller coaster, right? I was like so happy that they had fudge now, but then and really hopeful, and then they didn't, so I kind of crashed. And so I'm waiting for my coffee, near the counter, and then this other lady comes along. She's mopping the floor, and she asks me if I'm okay, am I being served, why the long face? I said to her, I was just hoping that you had chocolate orange fudge. And she said, oh, well, I do, darling, it's at the back, come with me and I can cut you a piece. And I couldn't believe it. We'd never seen fudge in this shop before, ever. And that they had choc orange fudge out the back. And anyway, so we got it. And it was like, I ran back to the car so fast, I nearly spilled my coffee everywhere. But my mum was so happy and she was so ecstatic, and so was I. And so Emma was saying to me, I want my own choc orange fudge story. I want that for me. And so what we were able to do was create challenges for her around manifesting, because she works really well. She's a high achiever. She loves to achieve goals. She loves to be stretched. And so we use this approach of setting her challenges. And anyway, it was so good because we started off with small challenges, then medium ones, then hard ones. And the next week she came back to me, and actually during the week she was messaging me going, oh my God, I found this. Oh my God, I found that. So one of the things that she had to manifest was a lemon. Well, later on that day, she manifested a lemon. And then she had to manifest a white cat. And she sent me a picture of a white cat in a lemon tree. And things like this. And so as with each manifestation, her confidence started to grow. And then towards the end, she said, oh, give me something difficult, give me something difficult. So I gave her some more difficult ones. She achieved those. And then I said to her, set your own difficult ones. And so she said, well, I'm going to manifest a Smurf. And would you believe, within a week, she'd manifested not one, but 2 Smurfs. Oh, one of the other things that she manifested was a purple hatchback car, which I don't think they're that common, but she managed to find one like within 48 hours. And so anyway, the other thing that she was able to do was set for herself then, once she'd been flexing her manifesting muscle, what she was able to do then was set financial goal for manifesting in her business, in her private practice. And so that's what she did. And she messaged me yesterday to say she'd smashed that goal, and we're only at the 14th of July. So she'd smashed her monthly goal, which was a big, hairy, scary goal. And now the rest is just going to be cream. She's excited to see what she's going to be able to manifest this month. But she's attributing these big changes to the shifts that she was able to make with her mindset. And she did all of this in 90 days. She went from not being able to consciously manifest simple things in her business and not being able to consciously manifest simple things in her life to exceeding her financial monthly goal and to growing in confidence. She developed a conscious creation, a conscious manifesting muscle, and she built that over the 90 days by beginning with small things, going to mediumly, going to moderately difficult things, and then going to big challenges of things to manifest. And she did it. So like anything, you have to start small and then build up. So she absolutely accomplished her objective, and I'm so excited to be working with her again. She's re-enrolled for more. I don't know what the future's going to hold or what her objectives are for the next 90 days, but it's just proof that the sky is the limit. And here's the other thing. This is also proof that it's not so much about strategy. This is about your mindset, and this is about allowing yourself to get out of your head and surrender to the process. The way that we did it was by setting an intention. So an intention is just what you mean to do. So we meant to build her manifesting muscle. We meant to manifest a lemon. We meant to manifest a white cat. We meant to manifest a purple car. And so from that space of intention, what we then did was looked at a process of like letting that go. Of course, there are more steps in between, but I don't have much time on this podcast. But anyway, the key was really around letting it go and stop obsessing about it. And I think that that was what made the difference for her. When she was able to surrender into the process and allow herself to let go of the obsession about what it was she was focusing on, that's when everything started appearing for her. Not just in life with the cat and the lemon and the purple car and the Smurf and all that sort of stuff, but with her business as well. So prior to that, she'd been, really working so hard on the business, and to the point where she was not loving certain parts of it and wanting to delegate them out and all of that sort of stuff, which is fine. And that's what you should absolutely do. But there was becoming an increasing heaviness around her work because of this being in her own head about the turnover. So she was able to have an experience of letting go and seeing that when she does, a doorway opens for financial abundance, for example, which comes through bookings and referrals and clients and visibility and all of that sort of good stuff. Yeah. So anyway, that is the story, and this is how it all works. And manifestation is really around, the inner work first, and it's very, 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 very similar to, in psychology, we call it cognitive behavior therapy. We want to look at someone's beliefs, their stories, what they're telling themselves about things, shifting those beliefs, all of that sort of stuff, and then changing the behavior to change the outcome. Manifesting is like 90% the same as CBT in that respect. So it fits really, 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 really well for the private practice clients that I get to work with, who also get to have these transformations. So I think the biggest change that Emma experienced was surrendering. I think when she did that and she saw that she got results by letting go, I think that made it easier for her to obsess less about what was happening in the business and to let go, to allow all of the good things to come in. And you can absolutely have this transformation for yourself as well. Okay, all my links are in the show notes. But if you're interested in private practice and you would still need some help with manifesting something for you, whether it's bookings, appointments, clients, referrals, your visibility, things like that, reach out anytime. You can connect with me on Facebook. That's my main platform where I hang out. Or you can send me an email and I'll be more than happy to help you. I look forward to seeing you guys in the group. Those of you who are in the group, I'll see you there. We could talk about this a bit more. For my coaching clients, so excited your 90 days is about to start and I cannot wait to see what you all create for your private practices. You guys are going to crush it and I'm so happy for you. Thank you to everybody who's listened today. Have a beautiful day. You're all doing so well. Have a great day, everybody. Bye. Welcome to the Private Practice with Soul podcast. My name is Dr. Brooklyn Storm and I help private practice owners align their business back with their soul's calling, with their big vision and with their soul's purpose. Unlike other private practice coaches, I've traveled the world in search of spiritual resources, spiritual tools, education and information so that you can have the transformation that your soul desires and needs so that you can up-level your business. How much fun is this? I love it so much. Guys, if you're not already a member of the Private Practice Monthly Mentorship Group, please check out the show notes. I would love for you to be there. In the meantime, thank you so much for pushing play today. Let's begin. Good morning, everybody. I know it's not Saturday, it's Monday, isn't it? And I'm very sorry that you didn't get the podcast episode on Saturday. I've had a few queries from people asking where was it and am I okay? Do you know what? The honest truth is I was just feeling like I needed a weekend to rest, recharge, repair. Honestly, you can go to my Facebook feed, you can go to my Instagram feed. I was using all my crystals. Yesterday I felt really drawn to my moldavite and my rose quartz and my chrysocolla. Oh my gosh, chrysocolla, it's so beautiful, isn't it? Google it if you haven't seen it already, but I love it because it reminds me of the beach. It reminds me of like waves crashing below the cliffs. It's a stone that has deep green, deep blue, little bits of brown like rocks that might be below the surface, and little bits of white like caps on the ocean waves. And I just look at it and I feel calm, but I know that calm is just a kind of like what we see on the surface, isn't it? When what's going on underneath all those caps on the waves is actually something very powerful. So I felt called to use my crystals yesterday. I got back into my regular routine of meditating. I woke up 10 minutes earlier today and did my meditation again. I'm just feeling so much better. So here's a lesson. If you're feeling like you're getting a little bit tired, then absolutely it's fine to take a break and allow yourself to rest and repair. I think you'll find most of the time, most people are very understanding. So anyway, Today I want to answer a listener question. So this was a request that came through on email asking what's something that this lady might be able to do today that might be able to make a difference in her private practice. And I think this is a great question, but it's also very broad, isn't it? So what I've done is I've just thought about some clients that I've worked with in the past and some stuff that's been coming up lately in some of the groups that I'm in. And I thought I'd speak to that. So there was a lady, I'm going to say her name was Mel, but it wasn't. Mel was working as a psychologist and she was working for a non-profit organisation, okay? And she'd been there for maybe 5 or so years. And, you know, she started that job and in the beginning she was loving it. But what had happened was over time, she'd become very aware that there was pressure from the organisation for her to do a lot of the admin type things, you know, like track her numbers. There was pressure on her to see a high volume of patients or clients. She had to move them through the system very, very quickly. So they had to come in, be triaged, have an assessment, all that sort of stuff. So some quick, direct therapeutic intervention and then be, you know, referred out for more sort of ongoing stuff. And so I guess what had happened was over time, I would become aware that the admin was increasing and the direct client work was decreasing. She'd also become aware that as this was going on, her joy and her happiness were decreasing because the role was no longer in alignment with her values. It was no longer in alignment with why she even got into psychology in the first place, which was to help people. The good thing about this situation was that it had given her a lot of time to reflect, and she became really aware that what was important to her was the long-term work with clients. She wanted to see somebody at the beginning of their journey and then through to the end of the journey. And that was super important to her. She had tried to see whether or not there was a way to make this work in her current workplace, and there just wasn't because of funding restrictions and this, that, and the other. So then she was talking to some girlfriends about it, and they'd suggested to her that maybe she look at starting her own private practice, right? Which, okay, great idea. But here's the thing, she didn't know anything about how to start one. And so she went into Facebook groups and she started asking people, oh, you know, I'm thinking of starting a private practice. So I'm just pouring myself a cup of herbal tea here while I'm talking to you because it's only 2 degrees in Western Port right now. It's freezing. I can't even see my front fence for the fog. It's crazy. Gabe, my dog, he's on the bed and I've turned the electric blanket on for him so he can be nice and warm. So he's rugged up and toasty warm over there. Oh my goodness. Anyway. So where was I? So she goes into these Facebook groups. She's like, hey guys, you know, I'm thinking of starting a private practice. What do I do? And guess what? She gets bombarded with everybody giving their opinion on what she should and shouldn't be doing for private practice and on what they think the most important things are. And you know what? She's reading all of the comments, and while she's very grateful and thankful that people are writing back, it's making her more aware that there's a lot she doesn't know. And she's confused because people are telling her different things. Okay. So now she's like, all right, what do I do now? And here's the other thing, you know, I think once you become aware that you're not happy in your current role, it makes that awareness increase, don't you think? Like, I know when I was working for an employer years ago, I got to the point where I wasn't loving it anymore. And then once I realized I wasn't loving it anymore, every subsequent day became more of an effort. And it had nothing to do with clients. I love doing the client work, but I just mean all that ancillary stuff that goes around it, right? So anyway, she wanted to know, like, what do I do? What's the next step? And so I spoke with her and we had a conversation. It was really nice, actually. And this is always such a joy for me because I love helping women unpack, you know, their why. I want to understand what's important to her with her business, and I want to understand what her vision is. And a lot of the time people don't have one, you know. They think that if you have a vision, it's got to be like what you learned about in high school when you were studying business management in year 10, that you've got to have this very formal vision and mission. That's not what I'm talking about. I mean, I love to help women tap into their big why. Like, why on earth did you spend 14 years of your life studying to be a psychologist, in my case, and hundreds of thousands of dollars, and sacrifice all that time where you could have been socializing, going out with family and friends, having a life, but you weren't because you had your head in a book, because it was so important to you to get this qualification so that you could do what? And I don't think it's enough when women say, oh, I just wanted to help people. Yeah, everybody says that. But take it further. Like, how did you want to help them? Why did you want to help them? Did you have some experience in your life that made you want to give back, And so, in one of the groups, I asked people, what are your story? What's your story about why you started in private practice? And it was so beautiful to see why everybody got into it. Some people that had a really positive experience with a social worker or a counselor or a therapist or a psychologist while they were growing up, and that had really made such a deep and profound impression on them that became their why. They wanted to do that too. They were inspired by their own journey working with that person. Other people said, well, I saw a movie and I realized, the impact that one person can have, and I really wanted to have an impact. And, things like that. And everybody has a different story, but it was just so beautiful to see. But that's what I mean in terms of trying to anchor into your vision. Like, really go back and think, why did I choose this degree? Why was it so important to me? If I said to you today, hey, come and get coaching and pay $40,000 for it and you can have a beautiful practice, you'd probably freak out. Yet you went and spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on your university education, and you're really going to sit there and tell me you don't know why, or you did it to help? There are cheaper ways of helping people. You must have had some reason why this was important to you, and it was so important to you that you sat up at night and you did the assessments, you did the tutorials, you gave the presentations, you drove into the city, you went outside your comfort zone, you crammed for exams, how many hours have you spent in university libraries photocopying stuff or on the microfiche? And maybe I'm showing my age now. But you know what I mean? How many hours did you sit in lectures? How many hours did you spend outside of lectures sitting down with girlfriends, reviewing your lecture notes? All of that sort of stuff was propelled because you were motivated. But what were you motivated to do? Why? How did you want to help? And I think that is the first step in understanding what private practice can mean for you. Okay? And that's something that we tend to veer away from when we're working for other people. When we work for other people, it's kind of like getting married, I think. When you're in a long-term relationship or when you're married with someone, you know how it feels like you lose a little bit of yourself, but you gain a little bit of that other person. You start dressing the same, you start using the same phrases, you start watching the same things on TV, stuff like that. And then when the relationship falls apart, you go through this whole process of, what's my identity? Who am I? Oh, I'm going to go back and do those things that I used to do before I met him or her, right? And so you have to go through that process of rebuilding. I think it's kind of the same. When you're working for an employer, you leave some of your stuff at the door and you have to take on some of their stuff, don't you? And then when you leave, it's a matter of, oh yeah, what's my identity again? Why did I do this again? And that's got to be the first step. And the number one thing that you can do to make a difference today in your private practice is to allow yourself the space and the time to really reflect on your why, okay? And that's what your purpose is in a way, yep? It's not this big intangible thing that you can't see, that's bigger than you, that you'll never be able to figure it out. No. Make it easy for yourself and just ask yourself, why do I want to do this? And why is this so important to me? And what effect do I want to have on the world or on a certain group of people? Or how do I, not everybody wants to serve, by the way. Some people just don't like that idea of servitude. So if you're in that category, that's great, don't worry. But think about how you want to help, how you want to make an impact, just like you have an income goal for your private practice. you absolutely need to have an impact goal. So think about, what kind of impact do you want to make? What would that look like? Who are you working with? How are you working with them? What's the legacy? How do you help this person change, and what changes in their life around them? This is a ripple effect that, you're throwing a pebble in the pond and you're creating this ripple effect, aren't you? It's the same with therapy. When we help one person, they then change who they're being, and what they're doing, how they're behaving, what they're thinking, feeling, and saying to the people in their inner circle, and then to their friends and acquaintances, and then to who they work with. And do you see what I mean? The ripple effect. So that's the number one thing that you can do. And I think it's a step that's often skipped because we're just in a rush to get out of where we are and into something new. And we have these ideas. We're very focused on, you've got to make some money. I've got to do it for myself. It's going to be my way or nobody else's way. I'm choosing the furniture for my room. I'm finding a logo. I'm choosing a business name. It's all very, ego focused, keeping you nice and safe financially, nice and safe in a business sense, all that sort of stuff. But here's the thing, when you're not anchoring the practice from the beginning into your why, you're not going to have a soul aligned practice, are you? It's just going to be another business that you don't feel connected to, and you're going to have difficulty in that business because it's out of alignment with your values. It's out of alignment with your vision. So the number one thing that you can do right now, right today, that can make a difference in your practice is giving yourself the space to sit down and reflect on why you want to do this, okay? And I would also ask yourself, what stories are you telling yourself about running a private practice? Write that stuff out. What story am I telling myself about running a private practice? Or what story am I telling myself about starting a private practice? Write that out as a journal prompt and write for 4 or 5 minutes and see what comes up for you. And then ask yourself, all right, that was a surprise. That's interesting what's come up there. Where on earth did this story come from? Maybe it's your story based on your experience, but I bet it's not. I bet this is stories that you've internalized because you read it in a Facebook group, you read it in someone's email, you have girlfriends or colleagues that are running their private practice and they've shared their story with you and you've taken on their story as yours. I bet it's probably not even your story. And then ask yourself, how's this story helping you? Is it helping you? And journal to that. And then write out, what would I rather tell myself? What would I rather the story be about me and private practice? All right. So there's 4 or 5 journal prompts that you can use today that are super powerful. And I hope that they really do help you. The other thing that you can do to make a difference in your private practice today is get help. And I know there are so many of you who are new to this podcast, and I want to welcome you with open arms and, bless you. I'm so pleased that you're here. Honestly, I am. But one of the things about getting help from a new person is that you don't know them, right? So it feels scary and you kind of feel a bit hesitant and a bit resistant, don't you? I know. I've been in that position too. But something that really helped me was getting to know people first. And so what I can do to help you get to know me is you can absolutely come and join my group. It's only going to cost you $1 for the first 30 days. And I want to give you that so that you can see the training I provide in the group. You can participate in the coaching calls, get some support for your practice. They happen every Monday at 11 a.m. You're welcome to binge watch all of the pre-recorded ones, the recorded ones that I did before that are in there. Plus, I've got units in there where there are tools and resources to help you at any stage of your private practice. Plus, you get to join a community of other women who are at different stages of either starting or developing their private practice as well. And unlike other groups and coaches and stuff like that, my coaching is done through a spiritual lens. I want to help you understand how to work with your intuition in your private practice. I want to help you understand how to work with tools that can help you unlock and uncover some of the inner resources that you have so that you can affect change in your private practice that will bring it into alignment with your core essence. All right. But if you've been listening for a while and if you've been following me on social media for a while, then you well and truly know who I am and how I work. And I do have a couple of spots open for one-to-one coaching, and it's more affordable than you might think before you panic about the money. The goal has always been for me to help you get your practice where you want it to be. And it's not going to cost you a fortune to do that, but I want you to get the experience and get the results, okay? And I will put the information for both of those things and my email address in the show notes for you. So please get in touch with me, reach out. I'm so excited to hear what you thought about this podcast episode and if it made sense for you and if it landed for you. And if you loved it, please review it so that I can get it in front of more people, because that's part of my impact goal. All right, lovelies, have a beautiful day. Stay lovely and warm and stay nice and safe too. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you. Bye, guys. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Private Practice with Soul podcast today. If you're looking for clarity, if you need help with branding, your processes, and bringing everything into alignment with your soul's purpose for your private practice, head to the show notes and click the link for more information about the Private Practice Monthly Mentorship Group. You are going to love it. I can't wait to see you in there. Thanks so much for listening. Bye.